Good day, everyone. So today, we will be reporting about Lesson 6, Varieties and Registrars of Spoken and Written Languages. And by the way, we are Group 5. This will be the objectives of this report. At the end of the lesson, the students shall have described various communication styles, and number 2, determine varieties and registers of spoken and written language, and 3, appreciated the richness and diversity of the registrars used in written and spoken communication. So first, let us know what is cultural diversity. Cultural diversity doesn't just entail differences in dress and language, it also encompasses different ways of thinking, managing, and communicating. Cultures are created through communication, that is, communication is the means of human interaction through which cultural characteristics are created and shared. So, as seen in this panel, cultural diversity doesn't just entail differences in dress and language. Cultural diversity can be noticed by the way of thinking, managing, and communicating. An example of this is in the workplace, in which a Japanese person values indirect communication, which politeness and reading between the lines are important. Saying no directly can be seen as rude, while an American person within the workplace values direct communication, where being straightforward is encouraged and seen as efficient. Another example of this is how a Filipino person can point at things the way they communicate. They point at things using their mouths, using their lips. And so, people use language for purposeful communication. And learning a new language doesn't just involve learning how to use words, rules, and knowledge about language and its use in order to communicate with speakers of the language. So, culture, as shown in the previous panel, that culture is shaped how people interact. And so, language is used in purposeful communication because language is the primary tool of communication within a culture. That's why language is important within a culture. And now, learning a new language involves learning how to use words, rules, and knowledge about the language and its use in order to communicate with speakers of the language. So, learning a new language doesn't just involve learning the use of words, rules, and knowledge. Learning a language also involves knowing their tone and application of words to be able to apply what you have learned in communicating with other people in a diverse society. So, in a multicultural society, people speak in different languages, and each language has its own structure and meaning. To communicate effectively, one must learn the rules of the language and understand the cultural context behind it. So, and an example of this is within my city. An example is within my city. Within my city, there is a diverse culture of Muslim, Bisaya, and Kamayo, and other cultures. By each of us, but by each individual learning the cultural context, the tone, the language, the rules of the language, the words and knowledge about it, we were able to communicate effectively, even with different cultures. That is why it is important in learning a new language that you will not only learn the words, rules, and knowledge, because that is not the only basis when you are learning a new language. Because if that's just your basis, there may be some mistakes in your grammars and the way you use those words. You will not be able to apply those knowledge that you have gained from learning that language effectively when you are communicating with another person from a different culture in a diverse multicultural society.
Hi everyone, I'm Kriselle Rafallo. Now for this part of the report, we will be discussing the 5 basic communication styles. These are passive, aggressive, passive-aggressive, assertive, and manipulative. Before we dive into each of the styles, let's first understand why they are important. So have you ever noticed how some people can effortlessly express themselves and connect with others, while some struggle to get their point across? So I know many of you have hoped to learn that in this class, on how to express yourselves more clearly and confidently in conversation. And that's exactly what we will explore today. So to communicate effectively, we first need to understand the different ways or unique ways that people express themselves. Each communication style has its own impact on interactions, relationships, and even conflicts. So let's take a closer look at each one. First up, we have passive. So this type is also known as a submissive type. So when we say submissive, It's kind of like conformist. They're ready to conform to the authority or will of others, or meekly obedient. So another way of describing the passive communication style is a people pleaser type. So passive communicators are typically quiet and don't seek attention. So they have these tendencies: inability to say no, poor posture, easygoing attitude, lack of eye contact, soft voice, apologetic demeanor, and fidgeting. So basically, so naka-encounter na kita ng mga tao, no? Kanang super buutan, super gentle, and like mga tao nga pag-ask of favor, like they don't like to say no, mag-yes gid sila permente, nga na. And most of the time, we like to call it as an act of humbleness, or like kanang shy lang sila. But in reality, it could be it's because of their lack of self-esteem, nga na. So ang gani siya, again, they're focused on pleasing others so that they can avoid conflict at all costs. They're overly apologetic and avoid their expressing the true feelings or opinions. Important thing about nila is that they prioritize the need of others over their own, often neglecting their own feelings and opinions. They act as if others' opinions are more important, and that's why they hesitate or avoid expressing or showing their true feelings or opinions. They have difficulty making decisions, they rely on others to take the lead, and they struggle with taking responsibility, often blaming others for situations. They also refuse compliment and may feel like a victim in interactions. So, if we want to encourage a good working relationship with passive communicator, and also to help them feel comfortable and heard, we can consider these methods. First, we have to take a direct approach. So instead of waiting for them to speak up, ask them directly for input, but in a respectful and encouraging way. Second, ask them for their opinion. So since they may hesitate to share their thoughts, actively invite them to contribute in discussions. Then, use broad language. This makes them feel included and reduces the pressure of giving a specific answer. So instead of asking them a closed-ended question, ask them using an open-ended question, so that, because again, they have the tendency to please or to keep pleasing people. And so, siguro, if you ask mo sila about, for example, what do you think about this decision? Then, nagkunauna siguro sila of like, ay kanang, tanaw nila, oh, everyone seems to agree with this decision, so maybe I should too. So instead, don't do that. Don't ambush them with a close-ended question, but rather try an open-ended one. Example, how do you feel about this decision? So with that question, you're giving them the chance or like way to express their true feelings or opinion about the decision. So also remember, when you're asking a passive communicator, stay patient with long silences, as passive individuals like to take their time thinking through our response. So if you are a passive communicator, or someone you know, or like in general, passive communicators need to work on their communication skills by openly sharing their thoughts to create opportunities for positive interaction. Okay, now let's move on to the second basic type of communication style, which is the aggressive communication style. So this communication style can be hostile, threatening, and comes from a place of wanting to win at all costs. So these are opposite to passive communicators, which are very like meekly obedient or like people pleaser. This one, so opposite to passive communicators, where passive communicators likes to put the needs of others above their own. Aggressive communicators value their own needs above everyone else while disregarding others, and believe that their opinions are the most important in a discussion. They act like they have more rights, and they express their thoughts and needs in a forceful and often harmful way, leading to conflict and discomfort in interactions. They may blame, intimidate, and dominate conversations using hostile and demanding language. Their unpredictable and explosive reactions create an intimidating atmosphere, making it difficult for others to engage openly. So while this style can sometimes achieve immediate results or command respect in leadership, but downside lang yun is that it often damages relationships and discourages collaboration. So aggressive communicators tend to react before thinking, negatively impacting workplace productivity and team dynamics. So these are a few signs of an aggressive communicator. They interrupt people while they're speaking, they like to invade personal spaces, they present an overbearing posture, they use aggressive gestures, and maintain intense eye contact. So can you use aggressive gestures, diba, I said earlier that they have these unpredictable and explosive reactions. So maybe, for example, Ana is like, when someone's talking, kung yun na sila yung di tayo ganahan sa ilang naingon niya, yung quality rin sa side niya, pinabundak pa sa table na marigana siya. Okay, so when working with an aggressive communicator, consider these methods. To be calm and assertive to avoid escalating tension. So when we say assertive, it means that when you approach them, you have to be confident with the things that you say or kind of sa posture nimo. Okay, so that dili nimo sila mapafeel that they have to be intimidating or like to be superior in a way, no? Then keep conversations professional and focus on solutions. Direct the conversation away from personal issues or emotions. And make sure that your actions or gestures and the words that you say don't evoke any kind of emotion from them. So be neutral, be professional. So that dili sila magawas si anger, no? Then know when to walk away to prevent unnecessary conflict. So when you feel like the conversation isn't moving progressively or positively, then know when to walk away. But dili po mag-walk out or ka. But rather know when to stop now the conversation. So aggressive communicators, advice lang, or if you are one, so you should take a look at their body language, step back and tone down their voice and gesture. It's not about winning the conversation, it's about solving the problem. Okay, now we're down to the third basic communication style, which is the passive-aggressive. So as the name suggests, this communication style combines both aspects of passive and aggressive communication styles. So they appear to be passive on the surface, but aggressive motivation boils underneath. These style tends to be toxic in the workplace, spreading discontent and resentment. So they have these approaches: muttering, using sarcasm, exhibiting denial, presenting a happy face when they're upset, giving the silent treatment. Kaning passive communication, actually nagagamit natin siya. Well, not nagagamit, but we tend to use this when kasabaan na sa ato mama. That is one example, mama or papa, or like teacher or boss, you know. Kaya lisod po, no, because another one thing about kaning passive communicators is that they like to express their anger indirectly, although they want to act more directly. That's because they find themselves powerless to do so. So example, nalisod po magsukol kasi yung mama. So instead, mag-passive-aggressive na lang ka, mag-ati-ati ka okay na, bisag di guilt, di ba? And so, for example, katalaking muttering. So kasabaan ka niya, mag-mutter ka sa gilid, like wala mong dito na mabuhat, pero ikaw na makanong, because that's muttering. So, or using sarcasm, na uban po, using sarcasm or irony to shake out that feeling of frustration or parang di na talaga maulawan, no? Bisag lahi na kayo sa ilalim. Then, or exhibit denial, or kumonto siya. So consider the following approaches when dealing with a passive aggressive communicator. So make clear requests. So try to not leave the room for misinterpretation or confusion. So kanisha, this is like sa workplace. So make sure nga or not just workplace, but discuss time with their classmates or maybe friends. So before kamuhawa or i-end din yung discussion, make sure na wala na ka misinterpret ang uban, no? Then confront kay ang uban ra ba mag-smile lang nga, ay okay, mga ka, okay ba yung decision or okay ba mga idea niya, mag-smile sila niya, dili nila ginaingon na, dili sila ganahan to. So make sure na there are no room for misinterpretation or confusion. Then confront negative behavior. So talk to them directly about their behavior. So if you ever see someone na murag di na itsura ilang naong, no, or lahi ilang behavior or ng attitude, then confront them. But one-on-one. Because again, they have nasa like side na mag-please, like to please people. And what do passive-aggressive do? They, again, present a happy face. So if kasaban mo sila dira sa tubangan sa mga workmates or mga kauban, so do you think it would be effective? No. So confront them one-on-one. Then ask for their feedback. So directly ask them for their feedback in one-on-one situations to try to elicit honest communication. Because again, it's still because of their people-pleasing tendency. And don't meet them with the same style. So what does that mean? Meaning, nandili na pada pareha, sige na. No, that means do not be tempted to respond in the same manner, but because that will beget an unhealthy cycle of communication. So if you find yourself to be passive-aggressive, at times, practice direct communication by expressing your feelings openly and assertively instead of using sarcasm and avoidance.
Assertive communication style. This type of communication is considered the most effective and is typically the most respectful and productive type. Assertive communicators share their thoughts and ideas confidently, but they're always respectful and polite. They readily take on challenges but know how to say no when it's required. These individuals understand their own limits and protect their boundaries without acting overly aggressive or defensive. It fosters stronger relationships, enhances self confidence, and improves productivity by encouraging teamwork and problem solving. By using I statements, maintaining positive body language, and being direct yet kind, individuals can develop assertive communication skills that lead to more meaningful and constructive interactions. Assertive behavior exhibits itself through expansive gestures, collaborative and sharing tendencies, healthy expression of ideas and feelings, good posture, a clear voice, and friendly eye contact. And to work with assertive communicators, consider the following: give them space to talk, ask them what they think, and do not dismiss them if they are critical. This is in order for them to feel that they are a part of the conversation. Expect them to ask for your thoughts as well, because good communication involves good feedback. Instead of openly expressing their needs or intentions, manipulative communicators use indirect tactics such as guilt tripping, passive aggressiveness, or emotional appeals to control conversations and influence others. They may withhold information, exaggerate situations, or play on emotions to gain an advantage, often prioritizing their own interests over honesty and fairness. While this approach can be effective in the short term, it ultimately damages trust, creates misunderstandings, and leads to unhealthy relationships. Unlike assertive communication, which fosters openness and mutual respect, manipulative communication breeds resentment and conflict, making it an ineffective and unethical approach in the long run, meaning it only results to negative effects. This communication style is often characterized as insincere and patronizing. When you say insincere, it means that when they say a word, for example, they say, I care about you, but really they don't mean that they care about you. And next is patronizing. They make you feel like you're illiterate or not as important as they are. Where possible, a manipulative communicator should be steered into assertive communication. Manipulators know what they want to achieve and has clear goals. They are just not taking the best path to get there. By prioritizing everyone's needs, not just their own, they could achieve better results without upsetting others.